Welcome back to the Kiss Army Things podcast. This is episode 18. My name is Jeb.
My name is Xander. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the first album. By the time this episode is going to be released, it'll be the 48th anniversary since the release of the first album, so that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that today. That is literally twice your age. You're 24,
Ouch.
The album's 48, so that's kind of cool. Today we're talking all about the first album. And before we do that, though, let's do some follow-ups from the last episode. We had great reception from the last episode. Thank you, everybody who watched and liked and commented. We really appreciate that. Keep commenting. Be sure to subscribe. But anyway, so let's follow up from the last episode.
Absolutely. Well, at first, I think we can maybe get out of the way the updated information we have on the Australia tour dates. Of course, this has been an ongoing conversation with everyone in the KISS world. So when these dates are going to happen, are they going to be able to go to Australia due to different, worldly situations? And it looks like the tour dates have finally been postponed until August of this year.
Yeah.
On the End of the Road tour. So kind of a long time, because they were supposed to start that tour, really soon from now.
Yeah, it was supposed to be in April. I know they had some shows maybe in March and April, and then so shows got pushed back. I don't know if, because you even mentioned how you were skeptical. You were skeptical, saying, "Hey, I don't see it happening." And then actually, right soon after we uploaded the last episode, those dates were announced. They were postponed.
Yes.
They've been rescheduled to August. I don't know if Wolfmother will still be on the bill with them.
Yeah.
That was one thing we talked about.
So far, it looks like they are, but as you said, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, and then just one other quick thing to follow up from the last episode. We were talking about Off the Soundboard, and how, of course, it's going to be from the Virginia Beach show on the Rock the Nation. From the Rock the Nation tour, and I think I had mentioned at some point during that conversation, I was talking about Kiss 40 and how they had on disc 2 they used a version of Deuce on Rock the Nation, and for some reason in the episode I said I didn't know what version it was. I just couldn't remember, and so I said I didn't know, which is ridiculous because if I listened to it I would have realized the very first thing Paul Stanley says in that version of Deuce is Pittsburgh! He says it's Pittsburgh and it's 4th of July. So right there answers the question. It's obviously the Pittsburgh show from the 4th of July Rock the Nation show. So anyway, that's the version from the Instant Live they used on Kiss 40. We can expect Off the Soundboard to be coming out March 11th. So very soon.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
I'm wondering if we'll actually get the vinyl on the day of. Shipping has been an issue for not just Kiss, but for everybody. But we know that Kiss obviously has had some shipping issues, so we'll see if that actually comes out or if it actually is released.
I'll be ordering the CD from Amazon.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if they usually deliver on the day of its release or if they ship the day of its release.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea.
I was always under the impression that if you pre-order, because when I ordered Paul's book, Face the Music, back in 2014, it was coming out in April, like April 10th or something, and I pre-ordered it, and I received it on the day it came out.
For whatever reason, every time, I think, because I've ordered or pre-ordered plenty of albums, and they've always been shipped, at least through Amazon, on the day of its release.
Yeah, and that's the way I think it's been for a while, but there was, at one point in time, I do remember, items would be shipped before the release date,
Which makes sense.
with the intent of it being arriving and delivered on release date, since that's what makes sense.
Exactly.
Or at least as best as possible. Things will happen, but
yeah.
So I don't know. I doubt it. But the new single was released. I Was Made for Loving You, which was the newest after Lick It Up. That was the first single they released.
Yeah.
So they just released I Was Made for Loving You, which honestly I felt was a little underwhelming. I think they released I Was Made for Loving You. That was the single they released on the first Off the Soundboard from the Tokyo show. And now they've released the same song for the same single, which I get it. It is
just a few years apart.
I get it. It is like, right from a few years apart. Yeah. And I mean, it is one of Kiss's most popular songs. And I think in the last episode I was talking about how it was approaching 500 million streams on Spotify. It's exceeded 500 million streams.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess I understand the mentality there, but I just think that with that being such an already prevalent song, they could have had another choice.
Especially
I felt it was a little lazy, and and listening to the song too, there were several issues. Mm-hmm. It seemed like there was either maybe an issue with Tommy's guitar where the lead was, it came in a little late, and then the vocals came in even later. The do do do, that whole part was like delayed by like several bars, several measures. Oh, it was weird.
I haven't yet heard it.
So I don't know if maybe there was something that happened during the show itself. Of course, there's no visual, so maybe there was something happening during the show that caused them to delay. But I was listening to it, going, "Okay, when's it gonna start? When's it gonna start?"
Strange that they would release that as the follow-up single.
Yeah, and I mean it is like off the soundboard, so I guess you're gonna get those kind of
those little hiccups there.
You're gonna get those kind of hiccups, but I just got that was kind of odd. But anyway, we'll move on from there. I guess I will mention that as far as I Was Made for Loving You goes, it actually was used during this year's Olympic, the Winter Olympics. There was a team who skated to I Was Made for Loving You Forever. And Rock and Roll Night.
That's awesome.
And that was kind of cool.
That is awesome.
It's kind of weird to see Kiss being used in the Olympics, but I mean,
I didn't even know that.
It's still really cool that
That's amazing.
That's being done. But anyway, we'll move on now because we wanted to get to the Kiss spotlight, as we'll call it, where we talk about an album or a DVD or an era or something from Kiss that we wanted to spotlight and to talk about, and something we've been listening to or watching.
Absolutely.
So I think I started last time. So
sure.
What would you want to spotlight this week?
Yeah, something that's kind of random but not that random. Kiss the Originals, the triple first 3 album vinyl set that was released in I think '76, a long time ago.
The first Kiss box set, basically.
Yeah, it's like the first collection of records, and there's just something about, I think it's because the first 3 albums are relatively short. They, if I'm ever cleaning the apartment or something, or have some time to, spend, I could literally just throw on all 3 of those records and listen to them one after the other, and it's just nice, I guess.
For sure.
I mean, of course, if I had the 3 albums individually, I could still do that, but just having those 3 albums packaged together, and I don't know, I really dig it, and actually sound really good on that too. It wasn't like just a cheap, release back then. It just sounds really nice. So,
do you have copies of the first 3 besides the originals, or do you have?
I used to, but I sold them. so now it's just the originals.
So those are the copies you have of the first 3 for sure.
Yes, and it's just a cool little set. I mean, it's kind of unique to them. I don't know any other band who's done anything like that, where it's just the first 3 records repackaged in a little neat way like that. And I like listening to all 3 of those albums back to back anyway, and that kind of fits in with our theme on this episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kiss the Originals.
It's a good way to move units too, because they obviously were having, in the beginning they weren't moving as many units as they wanted to, so
yeah,
reissuing it was a good way to move. I think by '77 most of those albums were certified gold. I think
the
first album was certified gold in '77.
It was a smart move to get some more album sales in.
And what's funny is that what I'll spotlight this week is Dress to Kill.
Oh, nice.
Because I had a small window of time. I had some free time, but only like a small window. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna listen to an album real quick. What am I gonna listen to?
Yeah.
Dress to Kill.
Yeah.
It's a very short album, so I was like, I'm just gonna play it, put it on, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I think side 2 of Dress to Kill is like one of the best side 2s that I can think of. It's Come On and Love Me, Anything for My Baby, She,
amazing,
Love Her All I Can,
yeah,
and Rock and Roll All Night.
Yeah.
And
that's fantastic.
That's
fire.
That's really good. And in fact, when I came back, I was like, I think like a day or 2 later, I came back and was like, you know what, I'm just gonna play that again. Just put it back on and play it. Personally, I think Come On and Love Me should have been a bigger hit.
I know. That's probably my top 10 favorite Kiss songs ever.
A wonderful song.
It's perfect.
And it makes no sense to me why that song did not do better than what it did, because the rest of that album feels very rushed, feel very incomplete, because it was, it was. Yeah. But that song does not feel rushed or, incomplete. It's very solid, well-rounded.
Yeah, that to me is on par with like Strutter, as far as, because that was released as the second single for the debut album.
Yeah,
third, either way.
Yeah,
but it definitely should have been bigger, I think.
I agree.
It's just a perfect short little pop.
They were right to release "Come On and Love Me" with "Rock and Roll All Night" as a single. I mean, those are the 2 that I think out of all the ones. Like, I mean, "Two Time" or what? No.
Yeah.
"Ladies in Waiting," no. So it makes sense, but what doesn't make sense is how it didn't really do well for. It didn't do anything as sort of.
Didn't make any waves for the band at all.
Right, which is to me just really odd. But anyway, so there we go. There's the Kiss spotlight. So we'll move on to the topic of the day, which is the first album.
Yes.
We said by the time this episode is released, it'll be 48 years since the release.
February 18th.
Yep, 74. We'll see how this conversation goes because we didn't really experience Kiss in a linear way like most fans do, where most Kiss fans, you live year after year. You and I got a crash course on the first 20 years in day one.
Exactly.
And then we've had the last 20 years to kind of, live, our own era. But as far as like the first album goes, I guess if we're going to, start this off and open the discussion up, I would ask, where does the first album rank for you and why?
So, well, if anyone's seen our top 5 albums episode that we did, which I think is our most popular episode, you'll know that for me it ranks very high. For me, personally, I know a lot of people don't. They don't maybe like those studio versions on the debut album. They like different versions live, otherwise. For me, it ranks among their top 5. They're amongst the best. Maybe top 3. Maybe that might be a little strong.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because of the songs themselves, to me, front to back, it is just pretty much flawless. To me, and even the production, which it doesn't sound like there's a lot going on there, but Kenny, Kerner, Richie Wise, I think did a fine job. Okay. For me, I cannot express how much I love the first album and those versions of those songs. To me, it's excellent. It's near perfect to me.
It is true. It did rank in your top 5, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
For sure.
Yes. I don't know where, because it's probably moved since then anyway. But it's still one of my all-time favorite and most listened to Kiss records for me. Okay. I love the first album.
Okay, for sure. I think for me, it actually ends up being somewhere towards the middle. And that's because, obviously I can't put it at the bottom because, all of those songs, I think half the album is still played live today, or is at least,
or should be.
in rotation. Like Black Diamond, Cold Gin.
100,000
years. Deuce.
Deuce, obviously, yeah.
So, you definitely can't put it at the bottom. Yeah. And I think, overall, excluding my personal thoughts, it definitely belongs in the top 5, amongst the top great Kiss albums. But for me personally, I think it ends up hovering somewhere around the middle, just because you actually started touching on it, which was, this for me is almost like a springboard album where I look at these songs and they're all 10s, they're all great songs, but perhaps for a lot of them there's different versions here and there from other albums that I want to listen to. Sure. For instance, Kiss Alive. If I want to hear 100,000 Years, I'll listen to Kiss Alive. If I want to hear Deuce, I'll listen to maybe Kiss Alive 3. Yeah. Even Strutter, the demo version for Strutter, I think is much stronger than the album. One of the album. But obviously, again, those songs are, you can clearly see where Kiss is going to take over. The musically, the album is very strong. I was listening to I think I listened to it like 3 or 4 times before this episode. Yeah. And songs like Strutter.
Perfect, amazing.
Cold Gin, and certain parts. Of course, there's a part in Cold Gin, musically, that's just fantastic, live or in the studio. Right. But perhaps maybe some of the live versions are a little bit stronger for me. But nevertheless, it's a fantastic record. And I wanted to talk about, because you said that for you the production isn't really something that is a make or break, and lots of fans have mentioned the production being something
on the first
that
3 albums
could have been, for one reason or another, The production for me, I always felt like wasn't near as heavy as Kiss was live, or maybe even just not just heavy, but just like erratic and the energy. So I've always wondered if that was something that Kenny and Richie were kind of looking to get a more clean, more disciplined sound, or if maybe Gene and Paul and the band were just kind of playing it safe. It's our first record. Let's make sure we're playing everything correctly and perfectly and all that. But anyway, so does the production stand out for you, or anything you want to talk about the production?
It doesn't stand out really in any way, and that's almost why I like it. It almost sounds like it wasn't very produced at all. It almost sounds like they did nothing. They just kind of recorded it, and as it sounds, that's the way it sounds. It doesn't sound quite as raw as something like Hotter Than Hell. Right. That sounds too raw to me. But and to touch on because I've heard a lot of similar criticisms of maybe the heaviness, or some people say the guitars sound really thin, or they're not as crunchy.
That's
But
something
I actually like the way all how that sounds on the first album, because it to me it totally suits the tone and the overall vibe of those songs. Because like Strutter and Let Me Know, Nothing to Lose, these aren't songs that really are crunch, heavy distortion. They're not like real. It's not like Black Sabbath, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The album's filled with pop rock songs. So like
Okay.
that production, that kind of more tame sound, totally makes sense for me. Of course, you get the opposite side of that with Alive. You're getting the bombastic, huge, loud sound, which is still awesome, but they're just two different things. But I appreciate them both.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the way it sounds. Strutter especially. I listened to that on the way here and just a couple days ago, and I just love the way that song sounds. And it sounds perfect the way it is. Doesn't sound like it doesn't need anything more, but anything less probably would have been a problem.
Yeah.
But so to me, it's very middle of the road, but I like that about it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I really don't, have too many complaints about it because, the first album is the first album, and there really is no reason to complain about it, or really anything, unless you want to look for it.
Yeah.
But when I try and think about things that maybe would have enhanced it or made it better, and I don't know if we can call this a hot take or anything, but I've always wondered what the album would have sounded like had it had just a little bit more production, a little bit extra things going on, kind of like in Destroyer, but not Destroyer, where in Destroyer you have a lot of extra things that are going on, sound effects and things, which it did enhance the album and it gave it some atmosphere. But even on this album, the first album on like Firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
At the very end, you hear the Firehouse siren, but only for like a few seconds.
Yeah, and it
at
fades
the
out.
very, very end, it fades out. Whereas live, they use it live, the back half, that last chunk of the song.
Yeah.
And so I think that maybe it would have sounded a little bit better if that had been extended, to play
Just done more with it.
play into more to the song, and would have maybe brought out. Because to me, Firehouse is it's got a great riff, great solo. And when that Firehouse siren comes in, it's very intense and it's very loud. So I wonder, but I don't get that from the album version.
Right.
And the album version kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really do as much for me. So while I was thinking about this, this episode, I was like, man, I wonder if not that I would want to ever rewrite History and go back and redo it, because it is what it is and it's fantastic the way it is, but just to see what something like that would have been extended more, even on Black Diamond, the last song of the album, where you get that tape stop,
I really like
that gradual tape. That's so cool.
that was actually really nice.
That's a really great way to end not just a song but an album.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool effect to add. And so different things like that I think maybe could have helped the album feel ironically more alive.
Yeah.
To bring it out a little bit. I think that in the studio, Kiss never really sounded the same way that they did live.
Yeah.
There was always a disconnect, and so maybe if you took Kiss Alive and removed the crowd and just had that, I don't know, like.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, and
But-
that explains the success of Alive. It captured everything that Kiss was.
Yeah.
And the first album probably doesn't necessarily capture what they are, but that's the cool thing about Kiss. Is there's so many different versions of them, so many different aspects of them to enjoy and take or leave, as you wish.
Yeah. So there's one thing that I would want to mention about I don't know if it's really a production note, more of just like a choice that they went with on the album, and something that I always thought would have been cool to see, because at the end of Let Me Know, of course, they have the Kiss coda there, the that classic Kiss jam that was played after, I think, Watching You and She, and you hear it at the end of Let Me Know on the first album, but it also it fades out very quickly, and it almost leaves you wanting more.
Oh, definitely.
And with how awesome that jam is musically, just from an instrumental standpoint, I think that should have been left on the album. That whole, however long it would have been, I don't know, if it was just a couple minutes, I think they should have left that on there. Maybe as its own separate track. Like, as soon as Let Me Know ends, no, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
And then new track, da, na 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 na, and then it's an instrumental.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. Kind of like on The Elder when they did Escape from the Island.
Yeah.
After Blackwell ends, Escape from the Island starts.
Right.
And it's just like, instrumental ensues.
I think maybe.
I wonder how cool it would have been if they had done that on the first album.
I think maybe for me it would have. I don't hate the idea of it being its own separate track, but I think I would have rather definitely had that part extended and maybe added on to a different song.
Okay.
It works well enough with Let Me Know, but I feel like they're two separate things.
What
and
song?
I feel like I have no idea. They could just insert that anywhere.
Okay. For sure.
I don't know.
Okay.
Just a thought.
So one of the sore spots over the years has always been Love Theme from Kiss. Fans have always talked about how it shouldn't have been included, or it should have been different. It should have been this, should have been that. Everybody's always talking about different things. So I mean, we're gonna do the same thing here. But I mean, as far as Love Theme from Kiss goes, do you have any strong feelings towards like Love Theme from Kiss?
It doesn't really bother me. I like that it's there because it, while some people say it's just filler, it's just there to fill up space on the album and it doesn't really add a whole lot. And that's kind of true, but I would also just rather have more Kiss music on there that, is fine enough. I think it's a cool, kind of a cool guitar riff, not too exciting. It is just kind of there, but I again, it's like I just can't bring myself to say, oh, I would really want to change this thing about the first album, because every time I actually sit down and listen to it, I like it for whatever reason. It's just all these songs are good, and even that one just doesn't. It's so non-offensive that it really doesn't bother me, and I would just rather have more Kiss music there, whereas other people would want to remove it. Maybe they could have done more with it, but I'm not. I don't have any strong feelings about it.
Okay, for sure. For me personally, it is the weakest link on the album. It's not a skip. I don't skip it. I really don't skip a whole lot in the Kiss catalog. I just let albums play. So it's not a skip for me, but it definitely is the weakest link. And for me, it just doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
Musically, I think. I think Acrobat was a lot better musically.
Sure.
A lot heavier.
Mm-hmm.
I think the style of music, the Acrobat was, playing faster, obviously is more in line with what Kiss is playing. This one doesn't really match.
Mm-hmm. It was released as a B-side, wasn't it, to one of the singles?
Yes, I believe so.
I can't remember which one. I feel like it makes it for a decent B-side, but that's about it, probably.
Yeah, maybe, but even then, I think Acrobat is heavier, is better musically. I would rather hear that, except for the fact that the lyrics are kind of problematic to Acrobat.
They're kind of weird, yeah.
The only lyrics in Acrobat are, I'm in love with you, don't want the truth, because you're much too young.
Yeah.
And then repeat that. It's like, no, I don't want to hear that. It's not good. So maybe have Acrobat just be the instrumental, right?
Absolutely.
Again, Peter's drum fills were absolutely
I was on fire.
Yeah, there's some footage from I think Long Beach '73 with Acrobat. There's I think a track on the box set. There's a live version of Acrobat, and it's like
bootlegs.
There's bootlegs. The one from Memphis. So I think that having Acrobat or maybe just the music to Acrobat would have been better, but as I was saying earlier, I would rather hear the Kiss coda than as an instrumental.
Maybe find some way to work those two together. Have Acrobat
Possibly,
with
yes.
Dakota and make a super ultimate jam.
Yeah.
That might be too long, but I'd dig it.
It just feels like a missed opportunity because you have at the end of Let Me Know, it fades out when it's just getting good.
Yeah.
And it kind of leaves you wanting more. But then you have Love Theme from Kiss, which is 2 or 3 minute sort of nothing,
Right.
It doesn't really take you on a journey or anywhere. Yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere or do anything for you. So it's well, why is that on there and not?
Yeah, I feel like that was possibly kind of an amateur move on their part, just kind of throwing things together. And
yeah.
So yeah, I actually...
It seemed like an odd inclusion, Love Theme from Kiss. Yeah. Again, not a skip. It's not terrible. Mm-hmm. It doesn't... Maybe it doesn't make as much sense.
Right.
But the other one that people kind of point to is Kiss in Time, which obviously was not even on the original album. It was something that the label kind of was pushing for, and against the band's will, or they really didn't, not against their will, but they didn't really want to do it, but they went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah.
But so again, somebody who is after the fact, you listen to that album. Mm-hmm. Is Kiss in Time something that bothers you, or
I like it. Again, it's sometimes I view it as a total high point. Not like the highest point, but every time I listen to it, it's because of how high energy it is,
Yeah.
and how upbeat it is, and how I feel like that song actually, even though it's a cover, captures a little more of what Kiss does than maybe, Let Me Know does. It's almost more Kiss-like in a way because the energy it brings.
Yes.
And every time I listen to it, I always get really into it. So for me, I say leave it on. Although I could understand why the band wouldn't want to. It was just added on to help improve the sales, which
Right.
it kind of did, but not to a severe.
I was gonna say
degree.
kind of, but
But if I had two versions of the album, the original that didn't have it and one that did, I would choose the one that did.
Sure.
Because
Okay.
it extends the album. I love the vocals on it from everyone. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun upbeat song. I like
yeah,
it.
I listened to Bobby Rydell, who was the one who, of course, originally recorded it, and it was already a good song.
Yeah.
I definitely think Kisses is packing way more heat. Now, of course, rock and roll had changed from
Yeah, it was like the late 50s or something.
Yeah, and so obviously rock and roll was a little bit more electric, a little bit more in your face in the 70s. But I think Kiss has more energy. Peter's drumming is
awesome.
fantastic. The fact that you have like three vocalists,
Yeah.
it's one of the songs that kind of showcases Kiss as a multi-lead singer band.
Absolutely.
Obviously Gene and Paul are already singing and Peter does sing on Black Diamond. And Nothing to Lose,
Right.
but just having all three of them on one track, I think you're just hammering it in that hey, we're not a one lead guy. Everybody can sing or write or play or whatever.
Yeah, so Ace had Cold Gin, so there's writing credits. For
You're seeing writing. You're seeing like influence from all the members, and so I do see where people think that and the band that
Right.
Kiss in Time was just a little too maybe tacky, a little too corporate, a little too overplay like that, but.
Yeah.
I still think it's a really good song. One thing I learned that I didn't realize was that in '61, Bobby Rydell re-released the song for Australia specifically and rewrote the lyric, but for Australia specifically.
Really?
And was talking about like Perth and Brisbane and Sydney as opposed to Cleveland and or whatever. Kiss, they reworked the lyrics. It wasn't the same version that Bobby did. They rewrote the lyrics.
It's like Then She Kissed Me.
Yeah.
Kind of the same deal.
And God Gave Rock and Roll to You, where
Yes.
they just kind of reworked the lyrics. But I did not know that Bobby had actually re-released the song
I know that. Yeah, that's interesting.
and made it for Australia specifically.
But I got two hits from the same song
Yeah.
in two different areas, so that's kind of smart.
One thing I've been kind of debating about or weighing is, do you think that it was the best move to have Nothing to Lose as the first single? That was the band's first single.
Right.
And do you think that having that song as the first single was the right choice to make straight out of the gate for Kiss?
It's so hard to tell, being that none of the singles really performed, really impressively for the first few albums in general. So it's hard to tell if rearranging those, the order of those singles would have changed anything significantly. I think it's a fine first single. I think Strutter may have been better.
See,
just because I think it's a better song. It's
I
more
agree. simple.
I think Paul's vocals, everything, it's just a perfect little pop rock song. And Nothing to Lose is still great. It's got, the multiple singers on it. It's got energy and it's got good harmonies, but Strutter is just to me that is like the ultimate Kiss single. I feel like maybe if that were the first single, the lead single for the record, I'm not saying it would have hit the charts or anything, but hey, maybe it would have done a little better. It's hard to say.
I'm with you because I always felt that Strutter being the third single just doesn't make sense.
It's too good of a song.
It's too good of a song, but I think the drum intro is very strong. I think that's going to capture people's attention. It's almost very sudden, very startling, very memorable.
Yeah.
To me, Nothing to Lose almost sounds like a Black Turn Overdrive song.
Oh.
I mean, and maybe that's just me, being weird, but like, I get those kind of vibes from it, and I'm like, I mean, it's a good song, and single worthy maybe, but for me, the first single, it doesn't make much sense to do it, and I also wonder because I think you are correct when we say that, like, look, even if you did rearrange it, may not have like made the album like a breakout success or
But if that's someone's first Kiss song.
But Strutter, I think, maybe could have made a little bit more impact or made more sense.
Right.
Now, I guess one thing we could talk about, and you and I probably wouldn't know, is, how were these being marketed?
Yeah.
Or promoting, because obviously it's up to a label to be to market it and to promote it. And I don't know what Casablanca was doing to. By the way, nice shirt. I don't know if anybody can see.
Oh my gosh! I hope they can see my lovely Casablanca shirt here.
Casablanca record shirt.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I don't know. I'm not sure what the tactics were and what they were doing to market and promote this, but it just makes you wonder, kind of, what was the reason why? Was it because there was a disconnect between Kiss's sound and Kiss's image? Was the record maybe not as beefy as the live performances, and there was a disconnect there? Was there not as much promoting? I mean, who knows? But it is kind of interesting that it took Kiss a few albums to make it. Yeah. But it should go without saying that, like, just because it took Kiss 3 albums and then a live album to really get some attention. Yeah. That was only 1 year from the release of their first album. They released the first album in February. Yeah. And then they released Hotter Than Hell in October of '74. Right. And then by March, in just 13 months, they had 3 albums out. Right. So, yeah, it there was a lot of material there being released, and they were touring and they were grinding. But overall, I mean, only a couple years for Kiss to really, make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, they think about Alive. Rock and Roll All Night, that version was 75. First album was just released the year before. You had Destroyer the following year. It's like, yeah, that's actually pretty good.
It happened pretty quick.
It happened somewhat, yeah.
And even if we can always sit here and talk about hindsight's always 20/20. We can sit here and talk about, well, Casablanca should have promoted this or done that. All in all, they did a really good job taking care of Kiss, in the sense that the first album not that great. We'll give you here's your second one, here's your third one. Taking care of them, and providing the fun. That's what the record label's supposed to do. But even with Kiss Alive being honest, saying, hey, look, you got one more shot, otherwise this could be the end of the label. Yeah. You have one more record, we're going to give it to you. Make something out of it, because this is it. Yeah. And just being there for them in that way, because it was no secret that Kiss was going to become great. They were destined for greatness. It was just a matter of when. Yeah. And thankfully Casablanca was there to see that through for them.
Absolutely. Very instrumental.
But anyway, so other thoughts on the first album as we wrap up. But what's the song for you that is a standout? We didn't talk about really much about the music and the actual songs. I felt that it would be a bad idea to go through track by track, because we would get so bogged down by each track that this episode would be probably 2 hours long. Right. So I figured we would talk about it
on some of the songs.
More broadly, but as far as like the songs themselves, I mean, is there any one that is a favorite to you?
Oh, well, absolutely. 100,000 Years is tied maybe with Unholy as my favorite Kiss song. Okay. And I do mean the album version, or really any version. But, of course, Strutter is a 10 out of 10. That's one of the best Kiss songs, period. 100,000 Years, one of my all-time favorite Kiss songs. Deuce is great, but I feel like I've heard it live so many times. There's so many different versions of that hearing it almost just doesn't really faze me as much anymore. Mm-hmm. But those two definitely, Strutter, 100,000 Years, and of course Black Diamond's incredible, phenomenal way to end the record. I mean, that's epic. Whoever's decision it was to end it with Black Diamond, and as we mentioned before, that slowed down tape sort of effect is just awesome. Yeah. And I love songs like Let Me Know. It's a really kind of it sounds really lighthearted and just kind of I don't know. I love all the songs on it. But,
one thing I'll mention about Kiss in Time that I thought was kind of that I never really actually considered before is that when Paul in the beginning is talking about wake up, Milwaukee, Miami, put your tulips, that whole intro almost feels like a live Kiss show. In the sense that when Paul Stanley, it's almost like instead of talking to a crowd, he's talking to literally America, and he's using his Paul Stanley on-stage voice to rally everybody together.
I never thought of it like that.
And, we were talking about different things before, maybe like some different production things that would have maybe brought the album alive. That's actually something that kind of makes the album feel, have a little bit more energy and, more like a live show where you have Paul kind of talking to everybody from different places to get up and, stand up for what you believe in, as it were.
Maybe that's why, to me, I think I said that, subconsciously that it captures, a live, it captures more of what Kiss really is. And I didn't even think about that element of it.
Yeah, no.
Paul actually speaking to you.
Yeah. Wake up, yelling. Miami, Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's really cool.
Yeah. For me, Let Me Know has always been a very strong very strong point of the album, and it's because I think I mentioned earlier in the episode where it's, most of the songs on the first album, I would rather hear other versions. Cold Jam, Kiss Alive, Deuce, Kiss Alive 3.
There's no other versions. Very few.
Right, and so Let Me Know, you pretty much only have that one version. So for me, when I think of the first album and those special moments, for me, Let Me Know and Kissing Time are those moments.
Yeah,
not so much Love Thief from Kiss, but but definitely Let Me Know and Kissing Time.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up, I will just throw out one more little nugget of info that I kind of found out over the course of thinking about the first album and reflecting on it. And while I was listening to it, like again and again and again, I kind of came across something I never knew before. And so we all know the two guys that produced the album, Kenny and Richie, and that they produced. They also, I think, ended up producing like over a dozen albums together.
Wow,
they were kind of like a duo. Yeah. But what I did not know is that before they were producing Kiss, they produced Hotter Than Hell as well. Before they produced, were producing Kiss albums, Richie and Kenny were in a band together. And they were in a band called Dust. And they came out, and I had never heard of this band. I guess they released a couple albums, but they really weren't like serious in the sense that this is going to be our jobs and our lives, and this is we're going to like Kiss. They were determined to make this their career. Right. I think the guys in Dust were looking to just jam and make good music and just have a creative outlet. But it's funny that Dust. The thing about Dust is that even though the band has been never really received any large scale success, or they're not really one of the bands that people point to when you talk about rock in the 70s. But the thing about the band is that every member in the band would go on to have legendary career.
Wow.
But nobody knows who the band is. So we talk about we got Kenny and Richie. Yeah. Also in the band you have Mark Dell, who would change his name to Marky Ramone when he joined the Ramones.
Wow, did not even know that.
And then you have Kenny Aronson, who would go on and play bass for Joan Jett, Bob Dylan, Foghat, Hall & Oates, tons of artists.
Quite a career there. Jeez.
And it's like, and how crazy is that? Where it's almost like it's like a
they were better apart than they were together.
It's funny because I would encourage everybody to go and try and find. I found some music on YouTube. I think you can find it on Spotify. The albums were re-released in 2013, but there's only 2 records.
That's amazing.
And the one that I was listening to was called Heart Attack, not heart. Hard with a D.
Heart Attack.
And I would recommend, if you're a fan of rock music, if you're a fan of classic rock music, if you're a fan of 70s rock, check this album out. Check these guys out, man. It's not overthought. It's not trying to be anything that it's not. It's just really good rock and roll. And some of it's really fast, fast guitar, fast rock. Some of it is there's some other instrumentation in there, some elements of not rock and roll, some very atmospheric.
Sounds like Wicked Lester.
It's very. It takes you on a journey. Yeah. And so if anybody has any time to check out Dust, I would recommend it because
I'm gonna check it out.
I was having a great time just listening to music that you could tell was for the love of music.
Yeah.
There was no agenda behind the music. It wasn't a means to an end. You could really tell that it was just 4 guys getting together
having fun
and playing music.
Yeah.
And so after the band disbanded, I think Kenny and Richie were looking to produce more than perform and play. And then the other 2, they wanted to perform and play, and they went on to have really good careers with artists. So
that's amazing. I love that. Very cool.
So we have a little bit of time here before we wrap up. I had some things. So I figured I would open some things.
Oh my gosh.
Because I like
Christmas came early or late.
Yeah, well, no, I like to collect, so I'm always getting something. But so I got this really cool Kiss guitar strap.
Whoa!
It's actually a.
I said Winterland. I was like, what?
Yeah. That's the brand. So it's actually for Guitar Hero. I think it's another Guitar Hero, which I collect the Guitar Hero stuff. So. I bought this really cool guitar strap. I actually just bought one recently. So I thought,
Sweet.
I'm going to get one to add to the collection. And then actually, I bought this Kiss knife. So that I
didn't
could...
I suggest that so you could?
Yes. Off camera, last time you said
you gotta have a Kiss knife to open all the Kiss merchandise.
So I said, you know what? I'm doing that.
You're doing it.
I'm doing that.
That's awesome. Did you buy it used?
This.
Or did you buy a new one and open it?
It was pretty much brand new. I mean, we could probably go ahead and call it used because it was not sealed when I got it, but it's pretty much brand new. But yeah, so this, I got a chain wallet.
Another chain
I love to collect. Yeah, Kiss wallets is something that I collect. So I bought this Kiss wallet just to add, and this is one that I'm actually going to use. This isn't something I'm just going to buy and then never use it. I actually do buy that stuff to collect it.
Nice.
And then this
cassette tapes, nice.
Dynasty and Rock and Roll Over on cassette. So apparently I didn't have these two on cassette. I thought I had most of them, but
Very cool.
I did not.
Yeah, I don't. I used to collect cassettes. I'm not sure if I had either one of these.
But yeah, I collect cassettes, but I don't really listen to them actively, and I never really did complete my discography or getting the albums on cassette. So I thought, well.
So I know you've got Psycho Circus and you got Carnival of Souls, all those late 90s ones.
I even have the first album, actually. I didn't get it out.
The first album?
I do the first album.
Nice.
So yeah, there's just a few things at the end here I figured I would show since
very cool.
I had a couple of packages come in.
Very cool. I'm taking these.
For sure. Yeah. All right. Well, nice. I tell you what, that's a really good episode talking about the first album. Let us know, everybody, your guys' thoughts. If you are a fan who was around in the 70s and was around when this album came out, let us know what you remember. If you remember seeing anything promotional in the store, did you hear? What would you hear on the radio? Was there any actual radio play?
And if you got into the band maybe a few years after the first album was released, and maybe you didn't hear it until after the later albums, what did you think?
Sure.
So I know some people have mixed thoughts about, their first album being Love Gun, and then Alive 2, and then going back and hearing the first album and kind of being, what is this?
Yeah, absolutely. So. We had some great comments from the last episode 17. Yeah, so thank you to everybody who's watching, who's listening, who's commenting. You can subscribe here on YouTube, of course. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. This has been episode 18 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. My name is Xander.
My name is Jeb.
Thank you.